tó nílò wà, ìpolówó ọjà tó yà lára ọ̀tọ̀ pẹ̀lú ìgbélárugẹ okòwò rẹ àti ohun gbogbo tó fẹ́ káyé ó mọ̀. Kàn sí rédíò àfíjú fún ìgbéjáde orin, music production, àwọn àkàálẹ̀, documentaries, ìpolówó àti ìkéde eléyìíkéyìí tó fẹ́ ṣe. Àwọn akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ wa ti wà níkàlẹ̀ láti fi ohùn wọn gbé ọ sáyé. Gbogbo ohun tó o nílò pátá ló wà ní rédíò àfíjú. Báwo lo ṣe fẹ́ sí gan? Lónírúurú èdè, òyìnbó, Haúsá, Ìgbò, Yorùbá àti àdàpè òyìnbó. Gbogbo rẹ̀ pátá ló wà lọ́dọ̀ wa ní rédíò àfíjú. Fún ìwọ tó fẹ́ ṣe àkàálẹ̀ aláwòrán, àwòrán ara rẹ tàbí tayẹyẹ, dígí la wà fún ọ. Ó yá, ìwọ tó ti ṣetán láti fi òwò rẹ sí ọkàn gbogbo àwọn oníbàárà rẹ. Má dààmú jìnnà mọ́. Kàn sí rédíò àfíjú lónìí. Wọ́n wà ní Dàda Estate, Òṣogbo, Ọ̀ṣun State. Ẹ sì lè kàn sí wa bákan náà lórí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára wa Facebook rédíò àfíjú, X rédíò àfíjú, YouTube rédíò àfíjú. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o, rédíò àfíjú gan-an ní ìlànà ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ tí kò lábàwọ́n.
Inspiring stories, real talk, from health and wellness to career and relationship. We explore it all. Meet your host, the Radio Gem, and other women on Women Corner every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m., where sisterhood meets support. It promises to elevate your mind, and most importantly, it's gonna be fun. Follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X.
Wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afiju, the time is 3 p.m.
First, a look at the highlights. Serap urges Tinubu to reverse latest petrol price hike pending court verdict. South African former finance minister Tito Mboweni dies at 65. Harris puts pressure on Trump over medical records. Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Radio Affinju. My name is Stella. Aderanti, the news in detail. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is demanding an immediate reversal of the latest increase in the price of petrol. The organization urged President Bola Tinubu to direct the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, to immediately reverse the second increase in petrol prices in 1 month, pending the hearing and determination of the suit before the Federal High Court, Abuja, challenging the legality of the powers of the NNPCL to increase petrol prices. In a letter by its Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, SERAP said the latest increase in petrol prices makes a mockery of the case pending before the Federal High Court and creates a risk that the course of justice will be seriously impeded or prejudiced. The group said one of the fundamental principles of the rule of law is that it applies to everyone, including presidents and CEOs of public institutions. According to SERAP, it is in the public interest to keep the streams of justice clear and pure and to maintain the authority and integrity of the court in the case. The Apex Igbo Socio-Cultural Organization, Ohanes Ndigbo, has called on President Bola Tinubu to withhold funds meant for local governments in Nigeria due to the actions of state governors. The body said state governors are arm-twisting local government chairmen over council funds. A statement by Ohanes' Factional Secretary General, Okechukwu Isiguzoro, described the actions of the state governors as an egregious affront to democratic principles and the rightful autonomy of local government councils across the country. According to Isiguzoro, the statement follows the alarming revelation that the governors have colluded to subvert the very resources meant for the upliftment and development of grassroots communities. These actions, it stated, not only degrade the cherished democracy, they are a direct assault on the dignity and rights of the Nigerian populace. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has lamented the deaths of the Ashiwaju of Oshogbo land, Ajadi Badmus, describing the exit as a very sad development at a time Oshogbo is witnessing rapid development in line with the dream of the deceased. In a condolence message, Governor Adeleke condoled the Ataoja of Oshogbo in council and all Oshogbo sons and daughters on the movement to the world beyond of an extraordinary lover of development, a passionate agent of change, and a tireless mobilizer for the growth of the state capital and the state in general. The governor recalled how in the last 2 years the deceased has been a constant energizer of growth initiatives with a dispassionate push for industrial and social development of the state, recalling his role to ensure materialization of several federal and state projects in the state. Adeleke noted that his only regret was that the late Ashiwaju did not wait for the commissioning of the ultra-modern flyovers at Oshogbo, which they planned together. According to him, Badmus was regularly monitoring the projects and always regularly expressed the appreciation of Oshogbo people for those massive infrastructure projects. He added that his administration will, in the deceased's memory, ensure successful completion of all ongoing projects at the state capital and will also do more to leave a legacy of a truly befitting state capital. Enugu State government has clarified the controversial mortuary tax imposed on corpses in the state, stating that it was not intended as a revenue-generating measure, but rather to discourage excessive storage of deceased bodies in mortuaries. The executive chairman of Enugu State Internal Revenue Service, Emmanuel Namani, said this while reacting to the mortuary tax circular addressed to all mortuary attendants. According to the circular, ESIRS, in line with the provisions of Section 34 of the Births, Deaths and Burials Law Cap 15, Revised Laws of Enugu State 2000 and implementation of the mortuary tax. Reacting, Namani said that the tax was not new to the state, adding that it was within the Enugu State mortuary tax law, which had been in existence for years. According to him, the amount to pay as the mortuary tax was 40 naira daily, not 40,000 naira. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says its operators at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, have arrested a Thailand returnee, Uwejo 4 Simon Peter, for importing 13.30 kilograms of heroin worth over 3.192 billion naira. This is just as operators of the NDLEA at 3 seaports intercepted large consignments of opioids with a combined monetary value of 22.7 billion naira. This was disclosed in a statement from the NDLEA spokesperson Femi Babafemi and made available to newsmen. He said that Ogujo 4 was arrested while attempting to smuggle the illicit drug concealed in 6 backpacks and then packed into 2 big suitcases out of the airport. The 29-year-old graduate of mechanical engineering from the Chukwemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, Uli, Anambra State, was said to have left Thailand on Qatar Airlines flight and stopped over in Doha, where he spent 2 days before heading to Lagos, while his luggage was routed to Accra, Ghana, his original destination. Ogujo 4 was said to have claimed in his statement that he was hired for a fee of $7,000 upon successful delivery of the parcels. He said he was to deliver 2 parcels in Lagos and the other 4 parcels in Accra, Ghana. Away from Nigeria, South Africa's former finance and labor minister and first black central bank governor, Tito Mboweni, has died aged 65 following a brief illness. Mboweni was an anti-apartheid activist as a student who later became Democratic South Africa's first labor minister from 1994 to 1999 under former President Nelson Mandela. He then served as governor of the South African Reserve Bank for a decade from 1999 and later as finance minister from 2018 to 2021 under President Cyril Ramaphosa. The ANC said Mboweni helped establish the post-apartheid labor legislation that laid the foundation for collective bargaining and labor courts to uphold workers' rights. As central bank governor, he oversaw the introduction of inflation targeting to help the bank achieve price stability. He was a close ally to Ramaphosa and served on the ANC's National Executive Committee, which handles party decisions. In other parts of Africa, Comoros will hold elections to its 33-seat parliament on January 12th. Although opposition parties have said they will boycott the poll, the Indian Ocean archipelago, with a population of about 800,000, last had parliamentary polls in January 2020. In January, incumbent President Azali Assoumani was re-elected for another 5-year term, but the opposition rejected the results, alleging instances of ballot stuffing and of voting being ended before the official closing time. The government, however, denied the claims. Orange, another opposition party, has also said it will not participate in the poll because the president had reappointed the current head of the electoral body, Idrissa Said, whom they accuse of favoring the ruling convention for the renewal of the Comoros CRC party. Assoumani's opponents accuse him of authoritarian excesses and suspect him of wanting to prepare his eldest son, Noor El Fath, to replace him in 2029 when his current term ends. Assoumani has been ruling Comoros since 1999 when he came to power through a coup and has since won 3 elections. In Asia, Vietnam and China signed 10 agreements ranging from agriculture cooperation to cross-border QR code payments during Chinese Premier Li Keqiang's 3-day visit to Hanoi as the two neighbors seek to boost ties. China is Vietnam's largest trading partner and a vital source of imports for its manufacturing sector, with bilateral trade jumping 21% for the first 3 quarters from the same period last year to $148 billion. The signing ceremony followed Li's meeting with Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh. Reports say Li and Vietnam's Communist Party chief, President To Lam, agreed to boost economic ties, farm-produce cooperation. Vietnam and China also signed a document on updating progress on cross-border railway links related to site survey. The two Asian neighbors have repeatedly showed interest in boosting rail links, but have not announced concrete plans or the estimated costs to upgrade connections. The Baloch Liberation Army, a militant separatist group in Pakistan, denied involvement in an attack that killed at least 21 mine workers, condemning the violence. Recall, dozens of attackers stormed a cluster of small private coal mines in Pakistan's restive southwest with guns, rockets and hand grenades, killing some miners in their sleep and shooting others after lining them up. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack on the mines of the Junaid Coal Company in the mineral-rich province of Balochistan that borders Afghanistan and Iran. It was the worst such attack in weeks and comes days before Pakistan hosts the summit of the Eurasian Group Shanghai Cooperation Organization. A decades-long insurgency in Balochistan by separatist militant groups has led to frequent attacks against the government, army, and Chinese interests in the region, pressing demands for a share in mineral-rich resources. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Keir Starmer and King Charles joined past and present politicians in paying tribute to former Scottish First Minister and former SNP leader Alex Salmond, who has died suddenly after falling ill in North Macedonia. Scotland's First Minister, John Swinney, said the 69-year-old had taken the idea of Scottish independence from the periphery to the centre of politics. It is understood Salmond collapsed on Saturday during lunch at a hotel after delivering a speech and was pronounced dead at the scene. Starmer called him a monumental figure, while King Charles said Salmond's devotion to Scotland drove his decades of public service. Lithuanians are electing a new parliament in a vote dominated by concerns over the cost of living and potential threats from neighboring Russia, with the opposition, Social Democrats, tipped to emerge as the largest party but well short of a majority. The outgoing centre-right coalition of Prime Minister Ingrida Samonite has seen its popularity erode by inflation that topped 20% 2 years ago, by deteriorating public services and a widening gap between rich and poor. Polling stations opened and results are expected after midnight local time. Opinion polls suggest Simonite Homeland Union will win just 9% behind the Social Democrats on 18% and the anti-establishment Numinous Dawn on 12%, though the eventual shape of a future coalition will depend on how smaller parties perform. The Baltic state of 2.9 million people has a hybrid voting system in which half of the parliament is elected by popular vote, with a 5% threshold needed to win seats. The other half is chosen on a district basis, a process which favors the larger parties. If no candidate gets over 50% of the vote in a district, its top two candidates face each other in a runoff on October 27th. From the Americas, Kamala Harris has released her medical records, which conclude that she is in excellent health and fit for the presidency. Following the disclosure, the Democratic Party's nominee to be the next U.S. president accused Donald Trump of a lack of transparency over not releasing his own health records. The vice president also claimed her Republican rival does not want the American people to see whether or not he's fit to become president. Without revealing Trump's medical records, the former president's team responded by quoting his doctor as saying that he was in perfect and excellent health. The Trump campaign said the Republican nominee had an extremely busy and active campaign schedule and claimed Harris does not have the stamina of President Trump. The trading of barbs came after the White House published a medical report that said Vice President Harris possesses the physical and mental resiliency necessary to serve as president. In the Middle East, Israeli forces widened their raid into northern Gaza and tanks reached the north edge of Gaza City, pounding some districts in the Sheikh Radwan neighborhood and forcing many families to leave their homes. Residents said Israeli forces had effectively isolated Beit Hanun, Jabalia and Beit Lahia in the far north of the enclave from Gaza City, blocking access between the two areas except upon their permission for families willing to heed evacuation orders and leave the three towns. 9 days into a major Israeli operation in northern Gaza, the Hamas-run Gaza government media office said Israeli strikes had killed around 300 Palestinians there. It said Israel's bombardment of civilian houses and displacement shelters was intended to force residents to leave Gaza once and for all, which Israel denies. Gaza's health ministry says dozens of people have been confirmed killed in the assaults on northern areas, with many dozens of others feared dead on roads and under the rubble of houses beyond the reach of medical teams. The northern part of Gaza, home to well over half the territory's 2.3 million people, was bombed to rubble in the first phase of Israel's assault on the territory a year ago, after the October 7th attacks on Israeli towns by militants who killed 1,200 people and captured 250 hostages. Still in the Middle East, an Iranian court has cleared two jailed journalists of collaborating with the United States and reduced their sentences over reports about a woman's death that had helped trigger protests in 2022, Iran's worst domestic unrest for decades. Judiciary spokesperson Asghar Jahangir told a news conference Niloufar Hamedi and Elahi Mohammadi, sentenced a year ago to 13 and 12 years in prison, had their terms reduced to 5 years. The two journalists were jailed for their coverage of the death in custody of Kurdish Iranian woman Mahsa Amini, while she was being held by the morality police over accusations she breached Iran's Islamic dress code laws. Her death sparked nationwide protests in late 2022 and 2023 that grew into Iran's biggest domestic unrest since the 1979 revolution that brought Iran's clerical rulers to power. And talking sports, suspended Netherlands captain Virgil van Dijk will not travel with the squad for Monday's Nations League match in Germany after opting for extra rest in preparation for a busy period with Liverpool. The Dutch FA said Van Dijk was sent off in the 1-1 draw away to Hungary and is banned for the next Nations League fixture. The 33-year-old initially said that despite the suspension, he wanted to stay with the squad to support his teammates. However, Van Dijk later changed his mind and has headed back to Liverpool, who face Chelsea, RB Leipzig, Arsenal and Brighton and Hove Albion twice over the next 3 weeks. Van Dijk is the first Netherlands captain to be sent off in a full international and misses an international for the first time since June 2022. He has 77 caps. The KNVB said no replacement will be called up to the squad, which travelled to Munich from Budapest. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is demanding an immediate reversal of the latest increase in the price of petrol. Elsewhere, South Africa's former Finance and Labour Minister and First Black Central Bank Governor Tito Mboweni has died aged 65 following a brief illness. And from the Americas, we brought you news that Kamala Harris has released her medical records, which concluded she is in excellent health and fit for the presidency. And that was the world news on Radio Alfinju. To view our channel, please follow us on Facebook, Radio Alfinju, X, Radio Alfinju, and YouTube, Alfinju FM. My name is Stella Aderanti. Thanks for listening.